I should have known from the way her friends smirked when I walked into the living room carrying the little velvet box. The music had been loud, the air thick with perfume and alcohol, and Clara was sitting cross-legged on the couch, a glass of wine dangling from her hand. Her friends surrounded her, chattering, laughing too loudly. The moment I stepped in, all eyes turned to me, and suddenly silence fell. My heart thudded as if the world itself had gone still, holding its breath for what I was about to do. I'd planned it for weeks. Saved for the ring, rehearsed what I'd say. Even convinced myself this group of her closest friends would make it more special. She loved attention after all. So I went down on one knee. The room gasped. Clara's hand froze mid-air, her wine glass trembling slightly. "Clara," I said, my voice shaky but hopeful. "You are the love of my life. Will you marry me?" For half a heartbeat, her face softened, almost tender. Then, like a storm cloud sweeping across the sky, her expression changed. "I'd rather stay single than marry you," she said flatly. Her friends burst into laughter. Some clapped, others shouted, "Savage!" And oh my God! I felt the blood drain from my face. The ring in my hand suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. And Clara, she just smirked, sipped her wine, and turned back to her friends as if I'd been nothing more than a bad punchline at a party. That was the night everything shattered. I don't remember how I left. I only remember the way the cold night air bit into my skin as I stumbled down the street, still clutching the unopened ring box. My ears rang with their laughter, that cruel echo bouncing around my skull like a bell tolling the death of something sacred. We'd been together 3 years. I thought we were building something real. We'd spent holidays together, shared dreams, whispered promises in the dark. I thought she wanted what I wanted. A life, a family, a future. But those words, "I'd rather stay single than marry you," didn't just humiliate me. They carved me open. 4 days after, Clara acted like nothing had happened. When I confronted her, voice raw with confusion and anger, she just shrugged. "Don't be so dramatic," she said. "You know I don't like surprises. And proposing in front of everyone. That was stupid. Stupid." My voice cracked. "You humiliated me." She rolled her eyes. "You humiliated yourself. Next time, maybe talk to me about it instead of making me the center of some spectacle." I couldn't believe her indifference. But what cut deeper was the way she avoided my eyes, always fiddling with her phone. It wasn't just rejection. It was something else. Something I couldn't put my finger on, until the pieces began falling into place. The first sign was her phone. She guarded it like a dragon with treasure, tilting the screen away whenever I walked into the room. The second was the late nights. "Out with friends," she'd say. But when I asked which friends, her answers were vague, dismissive. The third was her smile. Not the soft, familiar smile she used to give me. This one was sharper, secretive, like she carried a joke I'd never be allowed to hear. And then, one night as she showered, her phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up with a message. "Can't stop thinking about last night. Same time tomorrow." My chest caved in. I unlocked it with trembling hands. The thread was long weeks of messages, filled with flirty banter, late-night rendezvous, and intimate words that used to belong to us. His name was Ryan. Coworker. Every line I read was another knife twisting deeper. "You make me feel alive. I wish I could show you off. He's so clueless." Clueless. That was me. I dropped the phone like it burned, stumbled back, and pressed my fists against my eyes to stop the tears. She wasn't just rejecting marriage. She was already someone else's. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her, humming to herself, I was waiting. I held up her phone. "Who's Ryan?" Her face drained of color, but only for a second. Then she crossed her arms, chin high, eyes cold. "You went through my phone. Don't you dare turn this on me." "How long?" My voice shook. "How long have you been seeing him?" Silence. The ticking of the bathroom clock filled the space between us. Finally she sighed. "A few months. A few months." My throat tightened. While I was planning a proposal. While I thought. My voice broke. I thought you loved me. Her expression softened briefly, almost pitying. Then she said the words that would haunt me forever. I do love you, just not enough to spend forever with you. Not enough. Like I was a half-empty glass she couldn't bother to fill. The days that followed blurred into a haze of sleepless nights and endless questions. What did he have that I didn't? Was I not enough? Was I foolish from the start? I replayed every memory with her. The road trips, the lazy Sundays, the whispered I love yous. Were they all lies? Or worse, were they real to her once and just faded? Friends told me to leave. To pack my things, cut ties, and never look back. But love isn't a switch you can flip off. It clings, poisons. It whispers maybe she'll come back. Maybe she'll realize. But she didn't. She flaunted her freedom. She stayed out later, laughed louder, lived as if I'd never mattered. And when Ryan started appearing in her social media pictures, his arm draped around her, her smile brighter than it had ever been with me, I realized she wasn't coming back. The betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was the way she erased me, like I was nothing more than a footnote in her story. The final blow came 3 weeks later. I walked into a bar with some co-workers, trying to distract myself when I saw them. Clara and Ryan. They were tucked in a booth, heads close, hands entwined. She looked radiant, alive, the way she used to look with me. And then she saw me. For a split second, her eyes widened with guilt. Then she smiled, that same cruel smirk from the night of the proposal, and leaned in to kiss him. Right there in front of me. The room spun. My chest caved in. I stumbled outside, gasping for air like I'd been punched. That was the moment I knew. Whatever love I thought we had was gone. Buried under her lies, her cruelty, her choice to humiliate me again and again. I ended it the next day. Packed my things, left the key on the counter, and walked out without a word. She didn't chase me. She didn't call. She didn't fight. And that hurt more than anything. Because it proved I'd been holding on to a ghost, loving someone who no longer existed, or maybe never did. The weeks that followed were brutal. Grief comes in waves. Anger, sorrow, numbness. Nights where I stared at the ceiling until dawn. Mornings where getting out of bed felt impossible. But slowly, painfully, I began to reclaim myself. I threw away the ring. I deleted her pictures. I cut ties with her friends who had laughed at my humiliation. And in that space, in that silence, I started to hear something I hadn't heard in months. My own voice. The voice that said I deserved better. That her betrayal wasn't proof of my inadequacy, but of her emptiness. That love, real love, doesn't laugh at you, doesn't mock you, doesn't discard you when something shinier comes along. Looking back now, I see the signs I ignored. The way she always needed attention, the way she kept one foot out the door, the way she thrived on control. I see how blind I was, how desperate to believe in us that I ignored the cracks until they split me open. And yet, I don't regret proposing. Because in that moment, on my knees in front of her friends, I saw the truth. The laughter, the rejection, the cruelty. It revealed her for who she really was. And though it broke me, it also freed me. Months later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that things with Ryan had fallen apart. He'd moved on to someone else, just like she once had. Clara was left alone, bitter, angry, still chasing validation that never lasted. And me, I was healing. Slowly, steadily, surrounded by people who cared, rebuilding the pieces of myself she'd tried to shatter. I don't hate her anymore. Pity maybe, but not hate. Because in the end, her betrayal wasn't my ending. It was my beginning.